Welcome to Minnesota Sports Talk. I'm Josh Cohen.
I'm Carter Berquist.
Today we're talking about the Minnesota Twins. Yes, in July, we're still talking about the Minnesota Twins.
Every time I think maybe we're done this time, but no, they keep hanging around.
I feel like, they're eventually going to collapse, and they haven't yet.
No.
So let's talk about, this is kind of a big time in baseball, buyers and sellers at the trade deadline. Tells you a lot about your team if you're going to go make a move to bring somebody in, or if you're getting rid of the top talent and bringing in young guys. So what should the Twins do? Are they buyers or sellers at the deadline?
I think the Twins are in by far the toughest spot of any team this year and in the past. I mean, they're in a really tough spot because on paper, they should not be competing. They're not built to win the World Series. Quite frankly, they're not built to make the playoffs, but yet nobody's grabbing a hold of the Central Division. Nobody's grabbing a hold of the wild card spot, and they're right there. So it's very tough to kind of decide, do you want to sell, or sell your farm system to buy a player or two that maybe best case scenario, you make the playoffs and lose in the first round. I mean, best case scenario, that's probably what you're looking at. Maybe you win a round. I mean, maybe, depending on who you get. But at that point, you're really selling off prospects. Or do you stand pat, do nothing, see if this team can compete, or B, we have some really nice players that could fetch a lot on the trade market. Ervin Santana and Brandon Kintzler would be really nice for a contender, and I think you could get a big haul for them.
It is really, really tough. I've actually thought of this quite a bit because I'm typically, as a Minnesota sports fan, I'm always overly optimistic. And I'm like, oh no, you got to be buyers. You got to, make a chance. You got to do something. But then you look at, okay, like you said, best case scenario, we're not winning the World Series. We shouldn't even have a roster to compete, but we do. Baseball's a funny sport. Maybe something can happen. So you'd hate to give up on this season when it's like, no, we're actually winning. We're actually having a good season. I would hate to give up on it and trade Santana. And then it's like, well, you trade Santana, you know the season's over, right? Then you're building for the future. I wouldn't do that unless you can really get something good for it. But then it's hard again to say we're buyers because, again, who are you going to add that's going to make you win the World Series now, or you're going to give up future prospects when really this is still a young team. We're really not in our championship window yet. So I really don't know what the right answer is. As a fan, I would say let's be buyers. Let's go get something. I know we can't go crazy with trading away prospects or younger guys, but baseball is a weird game, and sometimes things can happen. If you get another pitcher in there, then we have maybe 3 capable pitchers with Santana and Berrios. Then maybe in the playoffs, it's all about pitchers in the playoffs. And maybe something can happen. This year, I would put Santana against maybe the other wild card team in a 1-game playoff. And maybe we advance. I mean, that's kind of all we got right now for the Twins. I mean, a chance to make the playoffs and see what happens. So buyers, but maybe not go crazy. I wouldn't sell unless you get something really good.
And I think I'm going to take the opposite side. I think I'm going to say to sell. Stand pat at the minimum. I would lean towards selling. It's tough to sell this to your players. If you trade Santana, I believe the players will be pretty ticked because you're kind of giving up on the season.
You are giving up on the season.
But
Santana,
as a fan, I think if you can get some prospects, some nice young pitching in here, you can see what the Cubs got for Quintana or the White Sox got for Quintana. Something in that ballpark I think would be really nice to add that to our young core. And then in a year or two, then when we need to add somebody like Santana, then we go out and add somebody like Santana. But right now, sell him at his highest value. Buy low, sell high.
It'd be really hard to do that when we finally have competitive baseball in Minnesota.
It's going to be interesting.
So we'll see what happens. Let us know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.